Welcome to Cuckoo Clock Yoga. We're just figuring out that now if you turn the camera or the phone around and use the back video camera, you can actually get a bigger picture. You can see a little bit more of the width and all the way down to our feet. So learn new things every day. Today we're going to learn how to deal with our hips. We're going to be stretching our hips in all sorts of ways. And, oh, I guess she's just gone to go check.
I've gone to check. Yeah, no, it's good. Yep.
Good. So come to standing on your mat. Feet parallel, toes can be touching, heels apart, whatever works well for your hips so that you can stand, your knees aren't stressed, your legs aren't stressed. Reach through the crown of your head to the ceiling. Feel your weight push on all four corners of your feet, the outer edge, the inner edge. Don't feel like your weight is very far over your toes or it's way back over your heels. You want to feel even weight across your feet when you're standing. Close your eyes, just come to center, try to think about nothing at all. Let's start breathing nice and deep, including belly breath. No belly breath, you just have to let your stomach relax and come forward. We have inhibitions about letting our stomach come forward and showing that we have anything going on here in the belly area. When you're breathing, there's nothing better than to let air come all the way down into your lungs, and for that to happen, your stomach's got to go somewhere. It's got to go down and out, just the way that it is. Spin our arms, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, just bring your hands down to your sides again. Inhale, repeat. Try to keep your shoulders low. Exhale down. And third time, we're going to bend our knees. So reach up, inhale. Bend our knees and sort of drape down over our legs. Come to a ragdoll. Let your head hang. Your stomach is touching your thighs. Just cascade down over your legs. Inhale, slowly straighten your legs. Lift the back of your head. Come up to standing. Reach up with both hands. Exhale, hands down. Good, roll your shoulders. Just have to work out some of that stiffness from having sat at our workstation all day long. All right. Let's spread our feet wide. Make sure your thighs are always pointing in the same direction as your feet. And then just come down to a low squat. Bring your hands in front of your chest. Try to stay vertical. This is, if you've done any martial arts, you might recognize a pose. It looks sort of like this. Just getting some work into our thighs and then stand up again. Fold down. Briefly touch the floor. Come back. Bend your knees, making sure that they're moving in the same direction as your feet. Let's hold it again. Inhale, straighten your legs again, fold. Touch the floor with your fingertips. Last time, inhale, come up and squat. So be very careful your knees aren't collapsing inwards. You're squeezing the back of the legs, trying to keep the shins, they won't be vertical, but you want to keep them somewhere near vertical. At least don't let them collapse in. And then inhale, up, fold, fingertips touch the ground, and now stay down low. Rotate your feet so that your feet are parallel or that your toes are tipped in a little bit. Then inhale, we're going to do some cat-cows here. So belly drops, head lifts gently for cow. Exhale, round through your back for cat. And repeat. One more time. And then just come to neutral. Bring your palms to the floor or fingertips, whatever works for you. Flatten your back and then push some energy out through the outer edge of your feet. Make sure your feet are well planted. Bring that energy up your legs, straighten them, engage your thigh muscles. If your legs can't straighten completely here, it's totally fair to keep your knees slightly bent, but again, make sure that they don't collapse inwards. You want to keep the thigh muscles strong. And now here, just sort of wave your pelvis up and down. So it's like you're doing a cat-cow, but you're not engaging the upper part of the body. It's just your pelvis is waving sort of up and down, tucking under, just doing sort of half of the cat-cow. And you'll notice as your belly drops and you come into that sort of cow position, you feel more of a stretch in the thighs, the back of the legs, and inside the groin. And then when you come to sort of that cat position, you release it. That's telling you naturally why when you fold forward, you tend to round your back, because it takes the tension out of the muscles that you're trying to stretch. So whenever you're folding forward, remember, you want this stretch. You want to work that. You don't want to lose it by rounding your back. Even if that means you can't touch the ground or you can't touch your feet, that's okay. That's not the goal. Now the next pose is going to be a little bit more difficult perhaps. So it's totally fair just to stay here or to do part of it. So the first part is we walk over to the side with our hands. And now we stretch the inside of the left leg. You're going to roll up onto the instep, that's totally fair, and you're going to pull it. And then you're going to come to the middle, and then you do the other side. Sink down low, stretch on the inside of the legs. We're going to come to the middle, we're going to pause for a moment. At any time, if it's too much, stand up, walk around, wave your legs, do whatever you need to do to release and to relax. I'm going to do the same thing here. You're going to now try to drag your heel over and squat down low. You have to shift where your hands are so that you can stay balanced. If you can, come right down onto your foot. And then up, shift over to the middle, and sink down on the other side. And you'll probably drag your mat like I do here a little bit. And then back up. Let's just stop in the middle. Stretch it out, squeeze it out. Feels good. Hands can come flat on the floor. Or again, fingertips, the floor is not working. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, come up to standing. Heel toe in a few times to release the tension and then come to standing. Let's walk that out. It's quite a bit of stretch for the inside of the hip for the groin. Let's keep that going. We're going to get down to the floor. We're going to get there through sun salutation, or the first part of the sun salutation motion. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, hands to the floor, step to high plank, sink down. Inhale, up dog or cobra, it's up to you. Exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to walk this one out gently. Stretch through both your sides. Stretch at the armpit. Now push back, breathe in a few times and out. And then come down to your knees, cross your ankles, roll over them. Keep on working on the inside of our hips. So depending on how things are, your feet either stay far away from you, from your groin, I guess, or you can lift yourself up and plant your hips close to your heels. Whatever works for the inside of your hips right now. Then sit nice and tall. Remember, if you round your back, you're taking tension out of the legs, and sure, you can then come a little bit lower, but that's not the goal. The goal is not to touch the ground with your knees or to be able to fold forward. It's to get a stretch. you're getting close to the ground, you might find that it's a little bit easier if you can open your feet like a book. And then that releases, and then you can come down a little bit lower with the knees. But remember, like I said the last time, the goal is not to squeeze your butt and get your knees down to the floor. You want to feel like you're pushing your knees away. That then releases and allows you to come down even lower. And then hands underneath your knees, pick them up, let's lean back, roll our feet back and forth. Now we're going to work through a series of stretches to get into the side of the hip, and you stop at whatever point you feel is enough for you. Some of these are going to be accessible, some of them may not be. So we're going to start with a simple 4 pose. Sit, bend the left knee, lean back on your hands. Lift up your hips, take the right foot, the ankle is on the left thigh, and then you come to some stretch of the right hip as works for you. Remember, you want to keep the shin muscles strengthened or tight so that the knee does not take the brunt of this stretch, but goes into the hip. Now you may want to just stay there, or you might want to go to the next stage where the left shin now runs parallel across the front of the mat. The right ankle still just stays on the left thigh, and then the right knee is coming down towards the left ankle somewhere. Very important that your foot is not sitting on the inside of your thigh like that, because then you are just stretching the ligaments of the outside of the ankle. You don't want that. And again, pain in the knee is a total no-no. If there's pain in the knee, you're either not keeping your shin tight, or your hip is so tight that no matter what you do with your shin, it's forming a twist in your knee, and you do not want that. You gotta loosen your hip slowly, gently in a 4 pose like Minik is doing instead. And then the next step, if you like, is you lean forward and you get both hips at the same time.
And if you're sitting, you can just sit up straighter and it gives you a better stretch. Pull your leg in tighter.
You can always keep adjusting as things loosen and open. So you always want to be watching your body and listening and relaxing at the same time. It's very easy, especially when you're in a pose like I am now, just to tense your hips. You want to do the opposite. You want to relax them so that they open and loosen. So we don't have a lot of time. We're going to release, lean back, straighten out both legs, and we'll slowly work our way into the same pose on the opposite side. So bend the right leg, the left ankle crosses, and you come to a 4 pose. And that might be enough for you. Or you're going to come and take your right shin, parallel with the front of the mat. Make sure your ankle's in the right place. Your shins are pretty well parallel with each other. And then you can sit up straight, or if you want a little bit more, and this will really then hit the hip of the leg that's on top of the other one. You lean forward and you stretch it out and relax and breathe. If you're not the kind of person that likes staying static in a pose, if you always want to keep on moving, feel free to just sort of adjust and move and do little tiny movements. But do try to start thinking about stilling your mind and stilling your movement so that you can just relax into the poses. And then inhale, come on up. Lean back, straighten both your legs, roll them around. Now we're going to do a twist that involves a little bit of a hip stretch as well. The left leg is straight, the right foot crosses it somewhere around where the knee is. If your foot cannot be flat on the floor and you can't sit tall, then keep the foot on the inside of the left leg. And the left arm is going to grab the right knee, sit nice and tall, turn to the side, and before we twist the whole way over, take your left arm and pull your right leg across the midline of the body so that your knee is now underneath the left shoulder, even though you haven't twisted the whole way around. And then engage your core because you want to keep the twist throughout the entire back and not just down at the bottom of your back. Engage your core, turn to the side. Inhale, lengthen out through the crown of your head. And then as you are able, slowly turn. Make sure the backhand is on the fingertips, not on the palm. Leaves your right shoulder open. Lead with the shoulder. Make sure you don't wrench your back by just reefing on your right knee. You want to stretch the hip, you want to twist, but you don't want to pull anything out. Inhale, release. We'll do a slight counter twist just to release that. And then straighten your legs. Take the left foot, mirror the pose that you made on the other side. Grab the knee, left hand goes behind, sit up straight. Pull the left knee across the midline. Hold it there for a moment, engage the core, and then turn. Looking at the side of the room, check in with yourself again. Straighten up, lots of distance between the tailbone and the crown of the head, and then keep on turning. The last thing you do is turn your head, and the second last thing you do is you turn your head. The last thing, if you like, is you turn the eyes and look right behind you. Release, counter twist, and shake it out. Do a little bit more now for the legs, for the hips. Cross your ankles, come to plank, and push to downward facing dog. We'll walk out our dog again. That means you bend one knee. Maybe bring the heel of the opposite foot to the floor as you straighten the leg. If you feel tingling in your Achilles tendon, then you're going a little too far. You're pushing too much. There should be no tingling going on. Now look forward. Bring your weight forward as you release the right foot. Bring the knee up to the right wrist, and then the right ankle comes somewhere close to the left wrist. How close depends on the openness of your hip. Might help to pin it there by putting the left hand on top, and the right leg or the right foot sort of hitches you back, and you come to pigeon pose, a high pigeon. Set your hips so that they're square with the floor. You don't want your right side to touch the ground unless the left can also land on the floor, which I've never actually seen that happen, where the front of somebody's thigh is on the ground and the side of their other thigh is on the ground. I'm not sure our anatomy allows that sort of thing. We're going to stay in high pigeon because this also works the front of the thigh. Getting a stretch on the outer right hip and the front of the left hip. Release. Hit your way forward again to take the stress off the joints. Left hand comes to the floor. If it pinned your foot in, push back to downward facing dog. Walk it out. Then we're going to push to a nice downward facing dog. Make sure your fingers are spread nice and wide. Index roots are planted firmly into the ground. Eyes of your elbows are looking up at the sky. Shoulder blades are sliding off your back. Your armpits are getting hidden by your wings that are opening up. Think of it that way. And then look forward, and we're going to mirror what we did on the one side with this side. So the left knee comes forward, left foot comes forward, and you can pin it with your right hand. Hitch your way back like an inchworm, and then sit nice and tall. Square your hips, engage your core. And just relax, breathe into it. Release. Remove the tension by hitching your way forward. Plant both hands. Push back to downward facing dog. Come right to a nice dog. Spread your fingers wide. Good support in your arms. Push your hips back over your heels. And look forward, step your feet forward. Bring your heels so that they're almost together. Your feet are out like Charlie Chaplin's feet. And then sink down. Squat down low. If this is difficult for your heels or your calf muscles, you may need to roll up something, put them underneath your heels. But as much as is possible, then come up. And with your elbows, push your knees out. And otherwise, sit nice and tall. Nice low squat. So a study recently done, very interesting I found. Hunter-gatherer societies have about as much spare time as modern humans. They do their hunting, they do their gathering, they do their work, and then they lounge around. They have lots of time. And the question is, well, why, if they lounge around just as much as we do, are they much fitter than we are? And not only are they more active, but because when they rest, they squat. They don't sit on the rear ends. They kneel and they squat, and this still uses muscles. Still uses far more energy than sitting on a couch does. Weird noise is the fridge, isn't it?
I don't think so.
What do you think it is?
I think it's a mouse
A mouse?
in the oven, in the tray. We haven't completely solved all the mouse problems. Mostly.
Optional, you can either stay there or you can do something else for the hips. Spread your fingers wide, plant your crow's feet, and your shins are now in a good place to sit on your, these are your crow's feet.
Oh, good. If those are my crow's feet, I'm good.
Plant your shins on your upper arms, and then maybe one foot comes off the ground, maybe the other foot comes off the ground.
Or neither.
And you float like a crow. And then come down. Excellent. Sit down. Stretch out your legs. And come to lying on your backs. Leave your right leg long. Grab your left knee. Pull it in tight to the body. Reach down with the left hand. Reach across the left shin, grab the outer edge of the left foot. Bring your shin so that it's vertical. Right hand is encouraging the right leg to stay low, and the right leg stays straight. It might end up floating as you pull the left knee down to the ground, at least in the direction of the ground. Breathe deep into this pose, trying very hard to ignore the mouse that are here. We live in a very old house. It's about 160 years old, but we just spent a lot of money to redo the entire inside.
Well, they're only really in the basement now, which
Still,
is not part of our living space.
No, but is this one in the basement?
Just
or is it
there's
up
a
in here?
couple little spaces where they can come up from the basement.
Very frustrating. Reach down, grab your right foot, extend the left leg, encourage it to stay close to the ground, make sure it stays straight, and the right knee gets pulled down in the direction of the floor.
Could be somebody typing upstairs.
It could be a magical ghost person typing upstairs, yes.
What it could be is a mouse in a trap.
One can always hope. We live trap our mice, by the way. Sometimes I don't feel like I should. And release. Give both your knees a squeeze. Rock them back and forth. Maybe even round your back and roll up and down. And then extend your legs. And open up to Shavasana. Palms facing up. Shoulders in full contact with the ground. Feet fall open. Relax your face. Relax the arms, your shoulders. Relax your hips. And the last thing is try to relax your thoughts. Slowly bring some feeling back to your fingers and toes. That needs some explanation later, but it can then stretch your arms overhead. Tuck your knees in. And come to lying on your right hand side. Push your way up to seated. Keep your eyes closed. Cross your ankles, and because we always do things the same way in life, uncross, then cross, some of the way that's unusual for you. Your hands together. Namaste. Thank you for joining us. And now, wish that mouse luck.
So, do you have a trap under there?
I don't currently have a trap. The trap is sitting on the counter. I was going to reset it. So he's chewing on something inside the stove.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah. The joy of living in an old house. It's just the way it is.
Oh, there's so many benefits to it now that one is just not as bad.
Yeah. It's one mouse rather than 12, right?
Yeah.
It's better. Good night, everyone.